Let's see. I cannot. There we go. So, good evening. My name is Fawn Rhodes, and I am with Introduction to Public Speaking Summer Session 2, Dr. William Robinson. This evening, I will be speaking to you or presenting to you information about critical race theory. How would you feel if you went to purchase a vehicle and they sold you a car only telling you the benefits of the car, only to find out that the car was previously wrecked or had a recall? This is illegal. In the same manner, how would you feel if your doctor prescribed medication to you and did not tell you the side effects? This is medically unethical. In both situations, it can be perceived as intentional deception. This is how many Black, Indigenous people of color feel when it comes to the history within the classroom and life overall. Critical race theory is an academic construct stating that racism is systematic and institutionalized in all facets of society, from public policy to classrooms to the judicial system to socioeconomics. Who and how did critical race theory begin? Critical race theory began in the early 1970s by several professors. Derek Bell, Kimberly Crenshaw, Alan Freeman are just a few. They stated that racism is systematic and that it's inundated in all facets of life. Currently, the North Carolina House Bill 324 opposes this theory, and we will discuss why. North Carolina House Bill 324 is a legislative bill that has been presented to the North Carolina General Assembly, part of which states critical race theory should not be taught within the North Carolina public school system. I'm going to pause for a moment so you can hear briefly a video regarding critical race theory or North Carolina House Bill 324.
To another race or sex. Essentially, what Senate Leader Berger is saying is that the state of North Carolina, the North Carolina Senate, is going to attempt to address critical race theory or the teaching of principles of it in North Carolina public schools. Now, when he announced this, of course, you have the typical outrage that accompanies these kind of things. But I want to briefly just talk about and go through what's in the bill itself, because I think it's important that everyone sees what is exactly in this bill, and then you can come to your own conclusions, divorced of emotions, because it's so important in today's climate that we look at what is actually in the bill and then address that. So just taking a quick look through this bill here. So you see that this bill has been amended a number of times. But essentially, what it's looking to do is to reinforce the Constitution of the state of North Carolina and reinforce the fact that North Carolina, as a state, recognizes the equality and rights of all persons. Now, on the surface, this seems okay. What they're looking to do is to prevent discrimination of any kind against any people. And so they have amended this to say that the word promote means compelling students, teachers, administrators, or other school employees to affirm or profess belief in the concept described in subsection C. As I mentioned before, this is directed towards public schools. So it says things such as public school units should not promote that one race or sex is inherently superior to another race or sex. An individual, solely by virtue of his or her race or sex, is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive. It goes on to say, for example, a meritocracy is inherently racist or sexist, which is true. A meritocracy is not racist. A meritocracy is not racist. A lot of the institutions in our country are based on a meritocracy. You know what is?
So I'm going to pause this. I can send you the link if you're interested in reviewing this particular video and gaining more information. I believe there are three reasons, that North Carolina House Bill 324 will should be presented, or North Carolina House Bill 324, as I stated, is a legislative bill that has presented to the North Carolina General Assembly, part of which states that critical race theory should not be taught within the North Carolina public school system. Some of the reasons that they're giving is that the American history, is too gory and painful to be taught and could traumatize students. They also have stated that it should not be taught because they haven't decided how it should be taught or created a curriculum for it to be taught within the school system. Lastly, they are not sure about what the repercussions, if there are any, if it is taught within the school system. Some supporters of North Carolina House Bill 324 feel that teaching this curriculum, that it distracts from addressing the students' academic needs. Basically saying that the more you dwell on, or the more that you teach a critical race theory, it takes away time and discussion from other things that are more important. I'm not sure what those other important things could be. So as I stated, the supporters feel it takes away time from addressing students' academic needs. Some supporters also state that critical race theory would cause more division among the races. Supporters also believe that parents should be responsible for teaching critical race theory within their home. Currently, critical race theory is not able to be taught within the states of Tennessee, Idaho, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Texas, and a couple others that their states have passed a bill where you cannot teach critical race theory within their classroom. And lastly, I believe that critical race theory should be taught within the classroom. Teaching critical race theory allows educators to be proactive in their approach in teaching accurate information pertaining to Indigenous Black history. And instead of people gathering false stereotypical information from the internet or others in general, and not just in Black history, but in just all people's history, all ethnicities' histories in general. As I stated, teaching critical race theory lets teachers and students become knowledgeable of the facts of American history and the contributors to our American history. If many did not feel the need to teach ethnic history, why do we have different months honoring Blacks, Latins, Asians, or Indigenous Americans? So obviously we do feel there's a need for information to be shared and factually shared. Otherwise we wouldn't have, from the federal government, months honoring people of color or the contributions of people in general. Lastly, teaching critical race theory gives a fair and balanced understanding of our American history. So what do I think? I do believe that North Carolina House Bill 324 will be passed in the North Carolina General Assembly. However, the United States is a pioneer, an ultimate melting pot, and it would be advantageous for it to not be passed and critical race theory be taught within our public school citizens for the benefit of all races. This concludes my presentation on critical race theory. I also have a bibliography included if you have any questions about where I've received my information. Thank you so much for your time. I now open the floor for any questions.
So my question would be, how will you teach the really important parts of American history, being that this bill does pass? How can that be taught in classes?
We could continue to teach business as usual, but just being intentional about the information that we teach, being more mindful about incorporating information that is accurate within the classrooms when teachers are teaching. It doesn't have to be gory, but it doesn't have to be dismissive or intentionally deceptive. We're leaving particular parts of history out because we're trying to, I guess, coddle our students. We have to give our students more credit than we realize. Children are a lot more stronger than we realize, and if they can sit and watch anime. And the gory parts of anime, they can sit and listen to American history and about the things that's happened in our American history.
So for those that oppose this bill, are there any solutions or things that they can do to try to get their voices heard?
If you oppose it, one of the suggestions I would encourage you is to reach out to your North Carolina representative and let your voice be heard. You can either call, you can write, you can call or email, or you can go show up at your local office. You can also contact your congressman and express your discontent. You can go to your North Carolina school board and also let them know how you feel about it. So, but it is very important as a public citizen or as a citizen of the state of North Carolina that you express your thoughts and your viewpoints on whether you oppose it or support it, and let your voice be heard.
My question is, how do you think that people will interact with each other in the future if we all have a different knowledge of the nation's past and history?
I think that's a wonderful question, LaShawn. I think it wouldn't change things. Actually, let me rephrase that. I think it would change things. I think it would allow people to be more empathetic. It will allow people to have more compassion, to truly understand. If I know your history and I know where you're coming from, I know that you shared with me that you're from New Jersey. And as we communicate and we build relationship building requires you understanding who you are and understanding your background. If I understand you, that's relationship that creates lasting, that puts an anchor in the foot of us getting to know each other. And so I'm less likely to maybe do something that might hurt you or offend you because I understand you. So I think that teaching it does bring more empathy, brings more compassion, brings more kindness, and brings more unification, because how can I know my brother if I don't know my brother?
No, that's a wonderful answer, and I would just like to know, when was this bill actually drafted? Do you know?
I do. The initial draft of the bill was, a second, let me go back to it. The initial bill was drafted starting on March 23rd, 2021 is when it was first submitted, and it's on its fourth edition right now, May 12th, 2021. And let me correct that. March 18th, 2021 is when it was first created. And May 12th, 2021 is the fourth revision of it thus far.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I have no further questions if anyone else has any.
Well, if there are no more questions, I thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to present to you critical race theory. And thank you.